Chapter 366 Transformation Golden Pill. On the contrary, when those devil disciples saw that the strongest black-clothed youth on their side had been killed and defeated, and that evil Goki and the red-clothed big man had fled, how could they have the heart to fight again? And almost every single one of them were scared out of their wits and ran in all directions. However, by this time, Huang Tao and Xiao Jin had already turned their heads. Where could they run away? And they were killed in a short while. Under Xiao Jin and Huang Tao, these Yuanying stage devil disciples had no chance of survival at all. They couldn't even run away. The difference in strength between the two sides was too great. And at this time, the battlefield between Kang Chon and the black-clothed youth also came to an end. He made several consecutive sublime slashes, chopping the black-clothed youth into pieces, seizing his identity token, and rounding up with the crowd. On top of the treasure ship, the crowd of Heavenly Dao sect disciples all revealed smiles after the robbery, but the faces of those newcomers were still a bit heavy. It was because although they won this battle, they also suffered a lot of losses. Among those Yuanying stage disciples, 5 of them died, and a dozen were seriously injured. It had only been a short while since they left the base, and 5 people had already died. No wonder they said that the battlefield of the righteous devil was a meat grinder with a frighteningly high death rate. Those newly arrived Heavenly Dao sect disciples no longer had a trace of arrogance on their faces. At this moment, only heaviness. The cruel reality made them completely understand the cruelty of the orthodox devil battlefield, where one's life would be in danger at any time. This is the orthodox devil battlefield. I believe that after this battle, all of you have understood the meaning of the words orthodox devil battlefield. Huang Tao scanned the heavy faces of the crowd and said in a deep voice, "If we didn't have to senior brothers, Kang Chon and Xiao Jin, around this time, we would have had to lose all of our troops. So you should all deserve to be thankful." After Huang Tao said that, the crowd raised their heads to look at Kang Chon and Xiao Jin, and a look of gratitude appeared in everyone's eyes. They knew that Huang Tao was right. This battle was almost reversed by Kang Chon with his own strength. Otherwise, that peak-out blood stage powerhouse alone would have been enough to kill them. Those newcomers finally understood at this moment the importance of a strong person in the orthodox battlefield. A critical moment was something that could save their lives. Alright, this kind of life and death battle, you guys will encounter more of it in the future, and you'll get used to it after a long time. Now, let's distribute the military merits. This time, Huang Tao began to distribute the military merits. Generally speaking, the leader of the team would take 70% of the military merit, and the remaining 30% would be evenly distributed among the other members. But this time, the strength shown by Kang Chon and Xiao Jin was too perverse. So Huang Tao naturally didn't dare to distribute it like this, but rather distributed it fairly. Kang Chon killed a peak-out breathing stage powerhouse, and no one dared to covet this 10,000 military merit. Although Xiao Jin had let that red-clothed big man escape, without him to hold him back, the crowd would have died or been injured even more. So in the final distribution, Xiao Jin and Huang Tao occupied half of the remaining military honors, and the other half was distributed by the other members. Originally, according to Huang Tao's words, the one who contributed the most this time was Kang Chon. Without him killing that peak-out breathing stage powerhouse, the crowd would have been wiped out, so he should have taken the most military honors. But Kang Chon refused. He only wanted the 10,000 military honors. He didn't care about the rest. At this, the crowd was naturally happy to agree. They also knew that a strong person like Kang Chon had many opportunities to earn military honors. Gentlemen, nowadays, there are more than a dozen wounded among us who need to return to the base to recover from their injuries. In addition, we have consumed a lot in this battle and need to resupply. After distributing the military honors, Huang Tao began to lead the crowd back to the ship. Kang Chon and Xiao Jin frowned a little. After all, they had only just come out and had to go back. This was too troublesome. However, seeing the dozen or so severely injured Heavenly Dao sect disciples, they didn't say anything. Senior brother Kangchon, in the Thousand Blade Valley, there is a special place to exchange contribution points, as well as the Hall of Contributions. This time you have earned so many military merits. I suggest that you exchange them for pills to raise your cultivation. Both you and junior brother Jin's cultivation have a lot of room for improvement. If you can quickly advance to the peak of the 9th level of the Yuaning stage, it will do you no harm as long as it benefits you. Taking advantage of the time to return to the ship, Huang Tao said to Kangchon and Xiaojin, "Oh, there is also a contribution hall here." Kangchon was instantly surprised when he heard this. Huang Tao was right. If there were cultivation-enhancing pills, they would naturally want to exchange them. Especially Kangchon. As long as his cultivation was sufficient, he would even be able to directly advance to the out-of-body stage. At that time, where couldn't he go in this orthodox battlefield? Naturally, Huang Tao smiled as he smiled. The military merits that we have earned by fighting to the death will all be directly exchanged for cultivation resources in the Thousand Blade Valley, and then we will raise our strength. After all, only strength is the only thing in the battlefield of righteousness and demons, and only when we are strong will we be able to survive. Kangchon nodded. He knew that Huang Tao was right. On their way back, the crowd did not encounter any enemies, after all. This place was very close to the Thousand Blade Valley, and it was usually rare to meet enemies. The battle just now was also due to their bad luck. They just happened to meet those Devil Dao disciples coming here to fight the autumn wind. Thousands of miles away, high in the sky, two wretched figures slowly descended. They exhaled a breath and glanced at each other with palpitating hearts. That violet-clothed youth is so strong. With the addition of the top-grade treasure weapon, I'm afraid that even a powerful outbreathing stage Seal King would have trouble dealing with him. The big man in red was filled with shock and said, "The Heavenly Dao sect has produced another supreme genius. This person will definitely be on the immortal execution list in the future. Let's hurry back now to notify the sect, so that his other brothers and sisters can be more vigilant. And in the meantime, we will inquire clearly about this person's origins," Evil Goki said in a deep voice. "Right, this news must be sent back, otherwise with this person's strength, there are very few people in this wind cloud continent who are his opponents. It's imperative that our Devil Dao disciples raise their vigilance before we do so." The big man in red nodded. With that, the two of them split up and left, disappearing high in the sky. In the Thousand Blade Valley, a huge treasure ship slowly descended from the sky above, and on top of the ship stood more than 20 Heavenly Dao sect disciples. Looking at this descending treasure ship, some of the Heavenly Dao sect disciples in the Blade Valley immediately felt a heavy scent of blood on their faces and couldn't help but frown. Isn't that Huang Tao? Didn't he just take a batch of new talents away not long ago? How come he's back so soon? Don't you see that there are some people missing amongst them? It seems that they have experienced a tragic battle. They've only left a short while ago. They shouldn't have reached the Wind Cloud continent. How could they have encountered a battle so quickly? In the middle of the Blade Valley, some Heavenly Dao sect disciples were talking, feeling a bit unbelievable. At this time, Huang Tao, Kangchon, and the others had already stepped down from the boat. Huang Tao put away the treasure boat and said to the crowd, "Those who are injured will go back to recuperate their respective injuries first. The others are free to move around, and I will notify you when we set out next time. Senior brother Huang, we will also leave first." Kangchon looked towards Huang Tao and greeted him. He was going to exchange his military merits into contribution points before going to the contribution hall to exchange 4 pills. Good. If there are no accidents, we will set off again 3 months later, and I will notify you at that time. Huang Tao nodded with a smile. Kangchon sniffed and then left with Xiaojin and Niu San. The Thousand-Edge Blade Valley was very large. The entire sloping valley was deep and continuous, like it was being split out by a person with a blade, just who had such a powerful strength to be able to split out 1,000 miles long sloping valley with a single blade. Kangchon brothers, what are your plans for these 3 months? Niu San asked. Of course it's to cultivate well to improve my strength, Xiaojin said without thinking. Although this battle was not dangerous, it also allowed him to see the terrifying nature of the orthodox demon battlefield. He wanted to quickly improve his strength. Well, I also have this intention. If it wasn't for you guys this time, I would be dead. I don't want to be a drag on you guys anymore. Niu San's eyes blazed with battle intent. Don't say that. Brother Niu, you are already very strong, Xiaojin said smilingly. It's still far worse than you guys. I'm going to exchange all of this time's military achievements plus my previous contribution points for elixirs to enhance my strength. I'm different from you guys. My cultivation is already sufficient. As long as I comprehend another 10% of my intent, I'll be able to advance to the out-of-body stage, Niu San said. His cultivation was at the peak of the 9th level of the Yuanying stage, and he had already comprehended 90% of his intent. And it was because of this that he had the strength to seal the king at the Yuanying stage. For him, as long as he comprehended another 10% of his intent, he would be able to break through to the out-of-body stage, and his strength would increase quite a bit by then. Then you have to work hard, Brother Niu. I heard that the Heavenly Dao sect has a lot of treasures to enhance intent. You might as well try it, Kang Tian said with a smile. Niu San nodded. The 3 of them traveled along, and in a short while, they arrived at the place where they exchanged their military honors, and the one who received them was a female disciple of the Yuanying stage. Hello 3 senior brothers, my name is Maple Language. How can I help you? The female disciple called Maple Whisper said with a smile. She was wearing a green dress. The skin of her neck was tender and white. She looked very pure. With a sweep of his gaze, Kang Chong realized that her cultivation was at the 5th level of the Yuanying stage. Disciples like these, who were less than the 9th level of the Yuanying stage, especially female disciples, would stay at the base and do these reception jobs in order to earn a small amount of contribution points, because they were afraid of the battles in the battlefield of the orthodox and demonic battlegrounds. After all, in the Heavenly Dao sect, not every Heavenly Dao sect disciple dared to fight in the orthodox demon battlefield without fear of death. Let's exchange military merits, Kang Qian said indifferently. Maple Whisper nodded, still smiling professionally, and said, Please show us the identity tokens that you have hunted, senior brothers. Kang Qian, Xiaojin, and Niu San sniffed and all took out the identity tokens of those Devil Dao disciples they had obtained. Kang Qian only had a black identity token with 4 golden bars on it, which was the identity token of a peak out-of-body stage powerhouse of the Devil Dao. The ones that Xiaojin and Niu San took out were the identity tokens of Yuanying stage Devil Dao disciples. Peak of the out-of-body stage. Fengyi's gaze instantly locked onto the top of the identity token in Kang Qian's hand, and her eyes were colorful as she exclaimed, Senior brother, you actually killed a peak out-breathing stage powerhouse. Kang Qian smiled faintly. Maple Language was very shocked in her heart. She could naturally see Kang Qian's cultivation, but it was only at the 8th layer of the Yuanying stage such a cultivation was able to kill a peak out-breathing stage powerhouse. That was definitely their Heavenly Dao sect's top genius. Senior brother, I've already exchanged 10,000 contribution points for you, after knowing that Kang Qian was a genius, in order to leave an impression on him. Maple Whisper exchanged the military contribution points for Kang Qian fast as possible. In a few moments, Xiaojin and Niu San's to people's military merits were also exchanged. Originally, Xiaojin was not a disciple of the Heaven's Path sect, and did not have an identity token, so naturally, he did not have any military merits. But last time, after he crossed the threshold and transformed into a form. The Elder of Law Enforcement gave him an identity as a disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect, making him a disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect as well. This was also because the Elder of Law Enforcement saw Little Gold's potential. Otherwise it would be almost impossible for other spirit beasts to become a disciple of the Heavenly Tao sect. Another 10,000 contribution points. After checking his identity token, Kang Chong realized that the contribution points under his name had changed from 0 to 10,000 and immediately revealed a smile. After advancing to the Yuanying stage, my authority has also expanded a lot. I wonder what treasures I can see in the contribution hall this time. With a hint of anticipation, Kang Chong, Xiaojin, and Niu San headed to the Hall of Contributions. In order to facilitate the exchange of Heavenly Tao sect disciples, the Thousand Blade Valley's contribution hall was situated not far from the Military Merit Exchange Hall, and the three of them arrived in no time. The one who received them was still a beautiful female disciple. Apparently, even in the cultivation world, it was still the female disciples who were more popular for doing these jobs.